You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 384. Here we are on it's the 6th of November. You wouldn't be able to tell that from the weather outside, but it's actually the 6th of November today. We've got some really mild weather here. With me, as per usual, we have Mr. Casey Green joining us from somewhere in the mid-Atlantic region. Undisclosed location. How you doing, Casey?
Doing okay. I had the plan for another week. That was fun. Took it places I wasn't supposed to go, and I charged Elon about $60 for electricity.
Oh,
like mine and all the others that are actually on the real unlimited supercharging program. This one isn't, so it did the numbers tracked up, and I got to see how much supercharging really costs. Interesting figures. Yeah.
Well, don't admit that on a live show, Casey. Just keep that to yourself.
Because on the ones that are with the right supercharging code, they have they just say 0 all the time. So you have to do the math and then look at it and figure out what it costs. This one is like, but the cool thing is, for such a large vehicle and for where we were going and what we were doing, I would expect to spend $60 to $80 on a similar size car, like I guess it's not much similar size as like this Suburban, but that's very much square. And then maybe some of the Audis, but they take premium. I don't know. But it's a lot less. It was less than $20 most of the time. So,
yep, that's the beauty of fueling your vehicle with electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. About 1/6 the charge of gas certainly it is here in Ontario. Prices may vary, but also with us, as per usual, Mr. Patrick Connor from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Hello, Tesla Nation. Welcome to November. I'm happy to be back. Casey, you did a great job with the intro the last couple weeks.
I live this imitation.
Yeah, it was nice to hear that. So welcome to the show where we discuss our future free from fossil fuels. That's right. Electrify all the things and power them with renewable energy, heating, cooling, transportation, electrified. So I've got my CyberTruck, my Cyber mug, my Cyber tea. I am ready for the Tesla Life.
He is decked out. He is decked out, my friends.
Yes. Before we jump into the show, though, I want to share a couple little stories. First, I drove a Cybertruck for the first time ever this week. Yeah,
this week.
Cool. Okay. It was great. I was picking up my new car from the service center, not my new car. I was getting service.
The newer of the two cars.
Actually, it was the older of the. I talked last 3 weeks ago when I was here about how my 12-volt got replaced, and when they were replacing it, they found that there was mouse damage to the wiper reservoir, so that had to be replaced at the service center. So it was there for that. And when I went to pick it up, I realized I had to go somewhere afterwards, but they weren't going to be open for another hour. So I'm like, I've got some time to waste here. And so I went over and asked them if I could drive the Cybertruck. And at first they said, oh, our next appointment isn't for another hour. And I said, oh, that's not going to work. I actually have to leave in about 30 minutes. I just wanted to do a quick drive. And they were like, oh, well, if you can just do a 15-minute drive, we can squeeze that in. I'm like, great. So, I got to drive it. And the 4-wheel steering is awesome. The drive-by-wire, the adaptive amount the steering wheel works was so intuitive. I think they've nailed that. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. And then, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, for me, it was that I made the mistake of doing most of the driving on FSD. So I didn't quite attune to the wheel, so it was time to back it up and put it back.
Yes, I didn't put it in FSD at all, just because, in fact, okay, so my next story is about FSD. So I was in the Y, FSD is driving, as it often is nowadays for me, and I'm coming up to an intersection. We're going to turn right, and there's a car stopped there. That car's going straight, so they're stopped and waiting at the red light like they're supposed to. FSD stops and turns on the turn signal like it's supposed to. And while I'm waiting there, a car comes up behind me, and I can see them in the passenger mirror. They are shoved way over. They're in the bike lane, and then they squeeze past me. They had to put their passenger side wheels up partly on the sidewalk to get past me.
The mirrors?
And I don't know. The mirrors didn't fold in. I didn't notice if they did, but the guy
did that in my driveway the other day.
Super close, and he's the reason I mention this is with version 11 of FSD, it used to block that bike lane. And every time it did, I would report it and say, it's illegal to block the bike lanes in Oregon. You have to be in the lane, not in the bike lane. And so I reported it over and over and over. And now it's finally doing the things the legal and correct way. And now this jerk behind me does this, where with version 11, he wouldn't have been able to do that. He would have been blocked and would have had to wait. And of course, as he goes by me, he honks me for slowing him down and flips me the bird. And I'm just thinking, what a jerk. And I did start this by saying I was in FSD mode, but if I was driving, it would have been exactly the same. So FSD didn't do anything wrong. I just thought it was funny how, depending on how it handles this and how other people react to it, you can't fix stupid. There are still going to be idiots on the road, and until all cars are autonomously driven, we're going to have these problems and I've had times with older versions of FSD where it does do something wrong and somebody else on the road gets upset. I mean, I take over before it gets too bad, but there was one where it was going to turn left and it didn't get into the center lane, and somebody behind me got mad. But there was a reason it didn't, because that became a left turn lane for traffic going the other way. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting little story.
Yeah, that is interesting that that once they got the lane fixed, some jerk drives through the bike lane anyway. So
yes,
the car,
right,
the car
right.
Can't win. My goodness! But like I said, unpredictable drivers will always be an issue until not only autonomous driving arrives, but autonomous driving is mandated. Because of course, you're not going to stop people that want to drive on the sidewalk anyways. They won't use autonomous driving. They'll want to keep driving on that sidewalk.
But as we saw in the iRobot movie, that doesn't make a difference. Or was that the other one with the precogs? But either way,
Minority Report.
Minority Report, yes. So it might have been both of them actually. They both had a manual.
Yeah, you're right. They did have similar scenes.
But I don't seem to care why the legacy owners are disconnected. Even on this plaid, they asked me, why did you disconnect? I thought it might have just been a 3Y thing. No, it's just a legacy. They don't care. Oh, you disconnected.
Poor Casey's still salty.
Oh, man.
Here, I'm salty about it.
And hello to Brian and Lee Moon in the chat room.
Hello.
Brian believes that Casey is somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. I think that's a bit south, Brian. That's a bit south. He's mid-Atlantic, not South Atlantic. But let's get to the news. We got a ton of it to go through as per usual. And the first one we're going to touch upon is the Boring Company. They have been updating the new tunnel at Giga Texas. We know that they've been building this delivery tunnel under the existing highway for quite some time, and they've run into some issues. They started building this in March, and it's now complete, and they're doing some painting in the tunnel, and so they're getting closer and closer to actually using it. You can see now that there's some lighting that's been added to the tunnel as well. And I think we've got a photo or two that we can share. Here we are. So they are approaching getting the tunnel completed. But what we have found out is that the delay that's taken, because of course they thought it would take about a month to get operational, maybe a month and a half. But what they discovered was that the concrete slab at the base of the tunnel that the vehicles drive upon, they had an issue with the concrete slabs that were created. They were brittle. and a number of those driving slabs had actually cracked and broke in key areas, and they ended up having to remove all the concrete slab driving surfaces from the tunnel and replacing them with brand new pieces.
Oh, wow.
So it was a serious amount of work that had to be done to get the tunnel operational. But now at this point, with them adding some lighting now and starting to paint the tunnel white from the inside. There's been a few shots with Joe Tegmeyer has been showing on his YouTube channel of them inside the tunnel making these adjustments. So you can also see from his video that they've got some conduit or electrical wire that's temporarily looped and hanging from the side of one side of the tunnel into the depths of it. So they're getting closer, and I got to believe that there'll be a CyberTruck test very soon to start getting ready to push those vehicles through the tunnel and avoid the long drive around the freeway exits to get to the other side. So this should be happening, my guess, sometime this week or next week. I think we'll see the CyberTruck or two. And of course, no harm. We're not going to miss this because the 25 drones flying around the place every day. I'm sure Joe Tegmeyer is going to catch this. So it's on its way, and it looks like they've got the issue of the concrete deck solved. So that's good news.
Concrete can be picky if you put in too much water or not the right stuff or don't mix it properly, or if it's not the right temperature or whatever. I wonder if somebody got fired for the, okay, we have to pull this out, and oh, by the way, here's your final check.
Oh, and by the way,
screwed it up. Yeah.
And one, his mood, and two, how it went down. Like if they went against what he said and they said, we'll try it. And then he said, I told you, you're out too. But I'm curious what happened here, why it took so long to get the surface in, because boring in the boring loop has been running for over a year now, and it's fine.
Well, yeah, but this obviously was it might have been a new procedure in producing the slabs. And as Patrick said, concrete is fickle in some ways. And if you do a wrong mixture, or if you've added a new component to it or a part of the process, maybe they didn't let it dry as long. There could be many things that they could have changed the formula somewhat. And that resulted in a lot of cracks. And you were even seeing in some of Joe's videos that as they were pulling the slabs out of the tunnel, some of it was hanging by the rebar. Like it was actually broken, and you could see the actual crumbling even in the middle of these slabs. So
so we talk about how hard to move a process from one line to the line next to it, or worse, to a whole nother factory. You cannot move the process from the boring loop directly over to Texas. Even throughout the year, and in Vegas, it just kind of basically gets hot and cold. And in Houston, you've got weather, and Houston, Austin, wherever the thing is, somewhere in Texas, it's big. I think it's Austin. Anyway, you've got weather, you've got seasons, and then if you're trying a new process on top of that, it will be difficult, especially if you don't have a concrete engineer on hand for material.
And Brian has a good point Brian has a good point in the comments that it might be that maybe they had to break some of it to remove it. Although there were some slabs that didn't look broken too. So yeah, I can imagine that as they were pulling it out, they weren't being gentle. They just wanted it out. They wanted it quickly done, and they wanted to replace it. So they probably broke a few here and there. But next, this is kind of interesting. Our buddy, the Green Hacker, Green the Only, has found some additional code in the Tesla software, and this is kind of interesting. He's found that this particular code is allowing you to change something in your visualization of the car. And I've got I must have, yes, I have a screen to share of this as well. Boom. You can, in this code that is not published yet, it's just in the behind the scenes area, you can now put your own customized plate number or phrase on the plate in your visualization of the car.
Yep.
So we had, of course, the modification that allowed us to change the colors of our cars. If you have a car that was wrapped, you could pick a wrap color. If you just got bored of your red car and wanted to make it black, you can do that. So this is another little bit of code that's hidden to allow someone to make a customized plate or change their customized plate whenever they want.
Yeah, I don't know of any government agency that lets you use lightning bolts and batteries on your plate. So that's cool that you can add that stuff.
Well, I was thinking at first, because I only looked at the small picture, that it might have been one of the specialty plates. But you're right; it's right up in there.
And I wonder. So I think this initially is rolling out in China, but when it does come to the States, I wonder if they're going to have plates from all 50 states that you can select from, or if they'll add other countries, or if you get to pick one solid background color.
Yeah, that should be simple enough for them to do with the right database access. Just all of it has to be available for toll charges and law enforcement and a whole bunch of other reasons why you want the actual plates to be able to, other than the design, available to do this.
Yeah, I think that over time, it would make sense if they could just say, pick the background color and pick the text color, and that would be able to solve pretty well anybody's license plate, and anyone could modify that as time goes on. Actually, I remember hearing the story about in California, them having electronic plates that you could, and I don't understand. I didn't understand the reason that you could have an electronic plate, because you'd never change it, right? Like it would always be the same plate number.
If you changed your design, or if the car was stolen, or if they wanted to run ads. But I think that fizzles out.
I think that's something that California had instituted.
And then the other reason is no stickers every year as you update it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that was kind of interesting. But now maybe they could hook that to your plate too. So as your plate changes, it can change in the visualization. Who knows?
Yeah, Oregon has a thing going where you can have, it's a small test right now, but you can have a vinyl sticker as your plate. And so if you're trying to eke out every hypermiling watt hour per mile you can, it's a lighter and less drag to have a vinyl sticker on front than it is a plate. And we do require front plates here in Oregon.
Yeah. I like what we did with our license renewal stickers. We got rid of them. So now there's no renewal. You just buy the plate, and you don't have to buy your sticker every year.
Well, that makes sense, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because you got the LPRs, so they can check you when you're not moving. And they're running your plates anyway if they stop you. So what's that all about?
Yeah.
Save some stamps.
Except all the income they get from it.
Exactly.
If you drive past a cop, the LPR catches you and you haven't paid, it's going to be the same thing. It was flat up red, and they'll know that they should have caught you.
True.
Yeah, I don't think that would surprise too many people.
LPR is license plate reader. Not words out there.
Our next story is near and dear to my heart, and it's something that Patrick and Casey have driven, and I have not had the pleasure to do that yet. But the CyberTruck has arrived in Canada and is now available for sale. At this point, of course, it's just the Foundation series that has arrived. But here's a photo of a lot in Toronto area, the Greater Toronto area. And they became available as of this past Monday. There were a couple of parties that were held at different locations where they weren't allowed to release them until Monday proper. So there was a location in Toronto that actually had a midnight party. And as soon as they were available, they handed out the first 25 or so of them to customers that have been waiting, of course, a long time.
Yeah. Well, one of the states required to sell front plate.
I'm sorry, Casey, what was that?
Brian's comment. He said that Washington also requires a front plate, and I said that one of the states named South also required a front plate. And I also was reading the CyberTruck manual for some reason and found out that they have a proper provision for that, instead of drilling through the bumper like on the Model X or the stupid sticky tape on all the other cars, or worse, the built-in mount that you can't.
CyberTrucks are here.
Nice. Look at all those CyberTrucks.
This was at my local Tesla center in Kitchener, Ontario.
You'll be driving one soon, at least a test drive.
Yeah,
Right.
They've got that many.
They've got 20 of them. These, of course, are all spoken for, pre-ordered.
Well, you should hang around and make a new friend.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you'll see some at one of your next EV events.
Oh yeah. It's really too bad they couldn't arrive at the beginning of October, but
Right.
the end of or beginning of November.
National Drive Electric Week.
Exactly. But it's great to see that they're finally here, and of course, after this delivery, we should be getting some of the other vehicles, the a little bit cheaper vehicles, as time goes along, as the U.S. has started to receive and deliver those as well.
Patrick, on your drive, when I switched up from the S to the X, I didn't really feel it was much bigger. It was longer, but not much. But I did feel that the CyberTruck was bigger on the road. How did you feel driving it?
I certainly felt like there was a lot more cabin space than what I'm driving now with the Y. But it didn't feel that much bigger on the road. That all depends on where you're driving, right? So in the parking lot, when I was first behind the wheel, I was worried about, like, okay, I'm not used to the steering yet. I've only driven 10 feet. I don't want to hit a pedestrian. So I was being very slow and cautious until I had a couple turns, and then it with that four-wheel steering, especially at low speeds, it felt so nimble.
Makes the vehicle actually feel smaller, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. It turns better than the X by a long shot. It turns better than the Y even.
Wow. That's a great shot, Mark.
Yeah.
Sunset.
Just a ton of triangles in a parking lot. So yeah, that was very very cool to see that they started to arrive, and of course all this week they've been being delivered to customers. The service / sales centers are really busy because, of course, they've got this influx of customers coming in to collect their first CyberTrucks. So there's a lot of excitement around. And it was a Canada-wide launch, so it was all the cities and provinces that were involved. And I remember just 2 or 3 weeks ago how there was this one of the lots at Giga Texas was filling up with CyberTrucks, and nobody really knew why. Well, this is why. They had to have a few thousand of them ready to ship to all the different provinces in Canada. To have this Monday event start off, and the deliveries continue. So congratulations to the owners. It's you're going to have some fun, I am sure.
Definitely.
Next, what are we going to move on to here? We've got Patrick's got a story about about parts and where they come from. Oh, we've lost your audio, Patrick. Okay, we can't hear you either. Casey, can you comment
on the part situation? I think it was inevitable to see that we'd be making some of these changes, and the one saying that we're going to be kind of moving away from Taiwan, right? Moving more towards North America.
Yeah, so the story indicates that, of course, the automotive industry tracks where.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay,
and I can hear you now.
Go ahead with the story.
Okay, yeah. So I assume this was the North American sourcing. Yes. Okay. So Tesla is the most American-made vehicle out there. They have now been the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA. They come out with this data, and if you look at the vehicles that are out there, the CyberTruck, which we were just talking about, the percentage from the US and Canada is 65%. The Model 3 long range is 75%. Rear-wheel drive, 75%. So, and it just goes down the list, 65, 70, 60, 60, 70, 70, 70 for Tesla's vehicles. This is just, and of course, this is for the vehicles that are sold on this continent. And it's similar if you look at the vehicles that they sell in China that they locally source in China.
Yep.
And they make a significant effort to locally source. Why? Because the longer your supply chains are, the more likely there are to be problems with your supply chain. If you can source it locally, then you don't have as many things that can go wrong. You don't have to pay as much shipping costs. The delivery times are faster. There's just multiple reasons you want to source things locally. And we've talked about how Tesla doesn't just do things the easy way or the way they've always been done. They look at what's the best way to do it, and that's what they try to do. They aren't bound by the past and just like, oh, that's how we've always done it, so that's what we'll do. And so, like many things, like the casting, like the ether loop, they are looking at what's the most efficient way to do it and doing it. Whereas the legacy automakers are just like, whatever, I don't care what the logistics guys are doing as long as we can build and pay. So this is just yet one more example of Tesla doing things better than anybody else in the industry, and how the rest of the industry should be looking at this and going, hey, why aren't we doing this? If we want to sell vehicles profitably, we should be looking at sourcing things locally. And when we can't, then we make them ourselves, which we saw Tesla do that with seats and other things when they couldn't find a good supplier. Okay, fine, we'll do it ourselves and we'll make it right here next door. And now we've got them.
We saw that last week with the new open source. Well, not say open source, but just like the NACS, they have a new connector for low voltage inside the car. And
exactly. And they're trying to push that to make it an industry standard because that's better for everybody. And instead of having 60 different connector types, they're going to go down to 6 or 8. And as long as that can handle all the cases that you need, why do you have 60? Okay, so why does this type of connection have to be a special different shape than another one that carries a similar voltage or similar communication speed? It doesn't need to be. It's just that every one of those vendors has tried to carve out their own niche so that you get locked in with them. And if you standardize instead, you get higher volume. Higher volume means lower cost, which is better for everybody.
Yep. Yeah,
exactly.
Sorry for coming in like a kid who wasn't paying attention to reading there. Had an upset 2-year-old. I was thinking of a different part sourcing story about where Tesla and SpaceX had moved off of trying to source as many parts as they could in Taiwan to elsewhere. But this one is also really cool.
So it is interesting that that Tesla is now the most North American parted vehicle in the continent. And we've got, again, with the free trade, we've got this flow of parts that come from Ontario and Quebec into the US and vice versa for us to push this agenda forward, where we're trying to get more manufacturers to produce the products locally within our continent. And that just like I remember at the beginning when they opened Shanghai, they talked about how they were only sourcing about 30% of the items locally from Shanghai. They were shipping that stuff in from Fremont at the beginning, just to make sure that they had the proper parts so they could move it forward. But of course, that pendulum has swung completely the other way, and now they're producing or picking up 70, 80, 90% now of those parts in and around China for that Shanghai plant. So as Patrick mentioned, they do zero in on the logistics of getting those parts locally or close to locally so that they can supply. And the other big thing is that, of course, that isolates that particular factory from disruptions at other places in the world. Because if you've got your parts coming in for 3 plants in 3 different continents locally, if there's a problem in North America, it's not going to affect Europe. It's not going to affect China. And that certainly allows you to run a little bit with a safeguard that those issues are not going to affect all of your plants. They may affect one, but the other 2 can keep humming along as normal.
Right. Or you could divert a little bit of your surplus from both of those to make up for a little bit.
Exactly. If you know there's a disruption coming, or there is a disruption, and you can get those other part suppliers to up their amount, you could ship them and help that distressed plant with some additional parts from different suppliers.
And we've seen that between Shanghai and Fremont a couple times, especially with each time a ship blocked one of the canals.
Right. And force majeure. Do you think flooding and hurricanes are going to be less likely in the future or more likely? They're definitely going to happen.
More, but now I'm really thinking more.
Right. Yeah. So if you're not planning contingencies, you're stupid.
It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Lee Moon has piped in and said that on his 24 Model 3, it indicates that 75% comes from U.S. and Canadian sources and 20% from Mexico. So that's 95% in North America.
Nice.
So
probably like the computers or like the battery tabs that came from like Japan or China.
Right. But with some of the incentives going forward, they have to be a certain percentage North American, or you're going to run into problems where you're not eligible for the incentives. So
exactly,
this is really smart.
Yep, and a number of different automakers have been bitten by these tariffs that have shown up recently. So
to the point where Stellantis is talking about, instead of paying anybody, they just said, we'll just make less cars, which is the solution.
That's an interesting solution. I don't know if it's going to help them out that much, but
yeah. My car business doesn't make any, so we're huge profit.
Yeah, exactly.
Zero on carbon credits.
Right. Yeah.
Next, we got a Supercharger story, and Casey, you probably know about this.
Yeah, MrSupercharger.com. So Tesla has started opening up some of the superchargers for all over in our friend Anders's country of Sweden, and they work just kind of like they do elsewhere in the world. You pull out your app, unless you're in a Ford, Polestar, or General Motors, then you can pull out their app, connect up, and you don't need adapters for them because they have a national standard already.
It's a European standard, right? So it's but this is kind of interesting that they of course started in Sweden by having a limited number of superchargers that would service other EVs, and now this announcement says that all the superchargers now can service other EVs. And Europe was the first to start sharing the superchargers with others, and I think the writing's on the wall. This will be coming to other countries with superchargers, and probably follow the same model that probably going to be opening up all the superchargers at some point in all these countries to allow other vehicles if the data supports it. Which of course Tesla has the data is collected and stored, and they're monitoring it. So
absolutely,
if it makes sense, probably we're going to see a lot more superchargers that are opened up.
So this one's a little interesting in that Tesla will charge 104.6 deposit. So 13.44 Canadian if you start a session, and then you finish, they give it back to you. Literally a deposit on your charging session, which is interesting. I'm sure they do it for a reason, but they don't seem to do it anywhere else. So you've got Sweden now and Netherlands, where we've got fully open superchargers, as well as South Korea, where the superchargers are open to all. Although in South Korea is a next country, so I'm curious how that works, because so far we've only got what was their name? Fila is so far the only one going for the native port or joining the Supercharger Coalition outside of the U.S. in a next country, which there aren't many of.
I've never even heard of that brand.
Fila is the Sony Honda collab with the station car.
Yeah, so we'll keep our eye on this, and I'm sure this is going to be duplicated elsewhere as it moves along. And of course, Europe is always the first to move on these type of things. And again, here they are again out front. So now I haven't heard too many problems at the current North American superchargers that are being shared. I've seen some people griping a little bit about cars taking up more than one space. But I haven't heard a lot of issues. There's been a few X tweets here and there about people that are upset, but I think it's gone pretty well based on what I've seen in the public eye.
Yeah, we saw a couple this weekend, mostly Fords. We had some Lightnings, some Mach-E's. There was a General Motors something or other. I don't remember which one. They blended into me, and and then a bunch of Teslas.
Yeah.
As the automakers move to NACS, they should also just move their charging port location to be the same as Tesla. If you're standardizing with Tesla, go all the way. Don't go halfway.
Yeah.
What's interesting is like the ones like General Motors, where like some of their cars are there and some aren't. But that also kind of goes for how they traditionally put their fuel doors. It's just wherever they fit. So
right. Yes. With fuel doors, it makes sense. You want to have a split between some cars on the left, some on the right, so that as they go through gas stations, you have them on each side of the pump instead of everybody lined up on one side or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not the case here. You need them to be consistent and correct.
Yes.
But although Tesla coming out with the V4 superchargers with an extra 3 feet of cable on each one, that's going to be a benefit as well. A number of vehicles. But you're right, Patrick. If you're making the change anyways, you should look at possibly running it to the same spot,
right? Keeping
it constant.
I was impressed with. I already knew that the Model 3s they were putting in were fast to charge, but this Plaid is also quite fast to charge. At superchargers, they're all much slower than mine at home because 72 amps, baby. But
nice.
On the road, this one held 250 for like half of my charge session. I was like, what? Even the Model 3 didn't do that, but it's got a smaller pack. So it was quite nice.
Next story is about factory tours. So we've got this notification that Elon has indicated that he would like to start up factory tours again in the future and allow owners to be able to book one and come to not only the only one that was available previously. It was, of course, Fremont. And he would like to open it up to the other factories as well. So, but again, no dates, no specifics, just indicating that, yes, I'd like to move this forward again. And this really pretty well stopped at the point of the pandemic. That's where it really, the brakes came on. And And then, of course, there was the ability that, Brian, that you could buy things with points. You could get yourself a referral. A number of referral points would buy you a tour at either Fremont or Texas. But that not everyone's getting referrals too. And I think
Right.
I think people that have been purchased a car and have supported the company, I think that they should have a chance to do it. And again, you've got to put restraints on it. I think the previous program was you could go once a year.
Right.
I wouldn't even be too upset if they push that back to once every 2 years. Like there could be something like that because, of course, the owner base has increased exponentially. So there's going to be more people that are trying to get a tour. So it's, I think that's a step in the right direction. They should do that. I think it's great PR for the company, and I think it's a positive thing for owners as well. So I think they should definitely get back into it.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe if they open, we can do a show from there.
Yeah.
Well,
Next spring.
they won't allow cameras, but I mean, it makes sense. Like, I enjoyed the Toyota factory tour. They were really obsessed with their running boards, with their rocker panels, and at the Camry factory over in Kentucky. But factory tour.
Yeah, Mark, you did the Fremont tour, right?
I did the Fremont tour. Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah, and that was quite impressive. Just as the 3s were rolling out, I was able to get that tour in. No, it was certainly into the 3 rollout, but I was interested to see that most of that tour took place on the S and the X line, because of course that's where the original tour was. It was strictly on the S and X line, and at that time it hadn't moved. And that'd be another thing for Tesla to do. If the factory does a couple of different cars, maybe there's the ability to do a different line tour. So getting into almost like a Disney ride with the red and the blue line, depending on what you want to see.
Do you want to see the Cybercab? Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Get a squad of optimists to do it, and if anybody gets out of line, call security.
you just crack your head, just crack.
Oh yeah, they have to have some optimists like waving at the people on the tours they go by.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I think we will wrap it for this week. Let's go for some shout outs. And since Patrick is back this week, Patrick, what do you got for shout outs for us?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Green, what do you got for us?
Well, you can catch us over at the Tesla Life Express on Friday, right here, same time, same place. And then on Sunday, catch us over at my show at youtube.com/KCGreen, where we'll let's chat with Casey and friends. And then on Monday again, back here, same time, same place, for the Tesla Life Express Part 2. And then live again a week from now.
And that's the whole week laid out for you right there. Exactly. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. We would really appreciate it. Press that subscribe button. It helps us out immensely. Helps us get us in front of some new eyeballs. We would really appreciate that. And we, of course, thank the chat room for joining us today. Lee Moon, JT, Brian from Futuraza was with us today. And great to see you guys participating in the chat. So if you're watching this after the live event, join us anytime. And you can chat with us during the show and be interactive. But
don't leave a comment down below with any of your thoughts and findings.
Exactly. And with that said, I think we will wrap it. Casey's going to roll the music. We're going to thank Lee Moon for using the music every week. And we will catch you next time to find out what's happening in the Tesla life together.
Stay positive, test negative.